Okay, so it's time for our first 9mm video in a long time. I always struggle to come up with good topics to talk about with 9mm. Pistol shooting just kind of seems a little more straightforward, and I just kind of struggle to come up with interesting things to talk about. But these bullets, today's bullet, is the Polycase Inceptor ARX. I picked up the one for 9mm. This is a 65 grain, 355 diameter bullet. Very, very, very light. Very light. They are made from what they call a copper polymer matrix, which is, I guess, copper just suspended in plastic. These are available for everything from, 380, 9mm, 357, 45, 40. They've got stuff for 458 SOCOM. And they've also got a couple rifle bullets. They've got an 88 grain 300 blackout bullet and a 35 grain 223 bullet. I think I'm going to want to try those out as well. But these are frangible, which I think for your average Joe, the best part about that is safety shooting steel. But this ARX design with the cuts in the ogive of the bullet is supposed to be a defense bullet, supposed to be a self-defense bullet. I don't think I'm going to be carrying them anytime soon, but they're supposed to, I don't know, they're supposed to work. These have been around a while. There's tons of gel tests and everybody fighting over what they're good for. My main intent really is just to shoot some steel and see how they shoot. See if they'll group and see if they'll run. Now there is a round nose version of this. They call it their sport utility or whatever. I don't know. It's the training round. Like this is supposed to be the defense round. The other one's the training round. The price is not absurd. The training round runs between 16 and 18 cents a bullet, and the ARX, like these guys, run 21 cents a bullet. So I figured that was cheap enough to go ahead and grab a box and play around with them, see what they'll do. Before we get into load data and stuff, I got a kick out of some of the videos. So let's have a look at one in particular here. Yeah, we'll look at this guy first. Here's the bullet spinning, and you can see the big blue afterburner. I don't even know what it's showing us here. But what I find interesting is that bullet is rotating, the top to the left. Play it one more time. See how it's rotating counterclockwise if you're looking from the back? Yeah. The rifling in my Glock goes the other direction. That has to matter. I mean, you look at how these cuts are made in the ogive. It's clearly directional. I think it's meant to spin one way and not the other for proper frickin' hydraulic whatever. I can't be the first person to bring this up. I haven't done any research on the defense side of these. I don't really care all that much. There's enough people fighting that fight. I don't really want to get involved, but that caught my eye. I saw it spinning and I'm like, hey, I think my Glock goes the other way. Now the second video shows some of the up close shooting on steel, which just amazing. What? Watch this next one. It's nuts. So that's kind of crazy, man. That's pretty cool. If it's good for nothing else, that's pretty cool. Another thing that made it easy to decide to try them is they have load data on their website. You're not going to find 65 grain 9mm bullets. This is crazy light. So having some load data to work from is awesome. And they even throw in some reloading tips. The three main points that they make right there on the main load data page is to properly adjust your flare. They say the die should be set in a manner that the case mouth is belled/flared just enough to allow the bullet to load in correctly. We do that anyway, so we're good there. Seating the bullet. Polycase projectiles are compatible with standard seating dies. If bullet shaving is occurring, more bell flare is needed. Always use suggested cartridge overall length when loading. That's all common sense as well. Crimping the cartridge. Always use a taper crimp die. Very little crimp is needed. With these projectiles, the goal is to bring the case mouth back to straight. We suggest using an L.E. Wilson, Lyman, or Dillon Precision case gauge to verify proper dimensions after crimping. If the case appears to roll in, that is too much crimp. And they even give a picture here that shows just how they want to crimp it. That makes sense. So, get rid of your flare, but do nothing else. So essentially the same instructions we always use when we're loading up powder-coated bullets. The same restrictions, the same things to look for. It all lines up. Now, for 9mm, they have load data for normal 9mm Luger, and they also have plus P data. The cool thing is, it's the same test powders in both sets of load data. The numbers look to make sense to me. And you basically just combine it into one, or I am at least. I'm basically just going to look at it as one big set of load data. And the numbers we're going to focus on are the starting charge for the normal load, standard pressure load, the maximum load for the standard pressure, and then the maximum load for the plus P. I think those are the three loads we're going to shoot. We'll talk more about that here in just a second. The powders they use are Lovex D036-07. I don't have any Lovex powders, but the other three we do have. The first is Hodgdon HP-38. The second is Hodgdon TiteGroup, and the third is Winchester AutoComp. So luckily we have all three of these on hand. So we're going to shoot all three of them. So these are three interesting powders. You have a very fast powder in TiteGroup, fast burning. You've got a slightly slower burning HP-38, and then you've got one that's kind of on the slow side in AutoComp. Shooting max plus P loads with TiteGroup makes me nervous. Shooting max plus P loads with AutoComp, I'm okay with. So as I chose our round counts here that we're going to load up, that was mainly what I took into consideration. Here's the way I kind of want to look at it. TiteGroup, we're going to test this as our plinking powder. We're going to load up 15 rounds at the minimum charge, which is 4.6 grains. So of those 15 rounds, 5 of them will be for velocity testing and a quick group test. And then the other 10 will just run a little faster for function testing. So this is, yeah, a little confusing. But for TiteGroup, the majority of the rounds, 15 of the rounds are going to be lightest charges. HP-38, let's treat this guy like the middle of the road. We're going to load up 5 at the minimum charge and 5 at the maximum charge, but we're going to load up 15 of them right in the middle at 5.2 grains. So that's our middle of the road charge. It gets 15 at the max load for standard pressure. Now, AutoComp, this would be our plus P powder. I want to load up 15 of these guys at the maximum plus P load, 7.1 grains. And also 5 at 6 grains and 6.7 grains. Hopefully I've made some sense out of this on the screen. But what it boils down to is 25 shots with each powder. So we're going to load a total of 75 rounds. Each one of those loads, 3 loads per powder. We're going to shoot a 5-shot group with them and get velocity data, see how they're flying. After that point, we'll be left with 10 rounds of each powder. The 10 rounds of TiteGroup are our light plinking load test. HP-38 is our middle of the road test, and AutoComp are our max load test. We'll have 10 of those. We'll just run those, shoot them at some steel, maybe do some of that goofy up close shooting like they did. See if we can catch some shrapnel. Now these velocities are no freaking joke. At 7.1 grains of AutoComp, the load data says we're looking at 1624 feet per second, 1,624 feet per second. That's pretty smoking in a 9mm, bro. And their load data does have a 4-inch test barrel. Our Glock, we're going to shoot out of my Glock 19. Glock 19, 4-inch barrel, or just barely over 4 inches. What is it, 4.2, something like that. So hopefully the load data, everything's going to line up just right and it's going to be good. I don't mind shooting that max plus P load. I think we'll be okay, but if these loads aren't tested in a Glock 19, then what in the world? I think the old Glock 19 will handle it, no problem. So for primers, we are using Federal small pistol match primers. Pretty standard stuff. And for brass, we're actually going to shoot some Blazer brass. And I also pulled out some Hornady nickel-plated stuff. So I've got 50 pieces of the nickel-plated, 25 pieces of the brass. We'll just load them up. I got a feeling these are going to look freaking sick with the nickel-plated brass, and I just wanted to see what they look like. So that's the plan. Did we cover it all? I think we covered it all. All that crazy load data and different round counts and stuff. That made sense, right? No? Hopefully it'll make sense once we get out on the range. But just know that we're loading up 75 rounds, and it's time to start resizing. So I think I got a flaring die set properly. Let me size a couple here real quick, and we'll double check it. Resize, flare, and hopefully, yep, the bullets are sitting down in there nicely. And a little bit of a push. That I might have overflared just a touch, but I kind of err on the side of overflaring. Especially because I know we're going to end up using the Leaf Factory Crimp die. I'm using Lee dies. We're going to use this Leaf Factory Crimp die, and it is very good. That carbide sizing ring is very good at ironing out any issues. So it's made me a little bit lazy. Tell you what, let me size one of these nickel-plated ones. We'll see what it looks like. Oh, baby. Look at that. That's freaking wicked, bro. Sexy. All right, I need to stop fooling around. Get these guys resized. Get them primed, and then start the hard task, which is weighing out these charges. All three of these powders meter very well. I may end up just throwing them. Or maybe at the very least, maybe I'll hand weigh the max charges and throw the lower charges. I don't know. I've got time to think. I've got 75 pieces of brass to resize here. So I'll see you guys in a few. So I chose the middle ground here. I am throwing all of the charges, but I'm verifying each one on the scale. Every once in a while I've had to throw one out, but not very often with TiteGroup. There's not much out there that meters any better than TiteGroup. I am really interested to see how well these guys seat, or if we have plastic scrapage issues. See, what was our target overall length? 1.155. Our seating stem is backed way out, so we shouldn't even be touching, most likely. No. For those of you keeping track at home, I picked up a new set of calipers. These are a set of Hornady calipers I picked up. My old set was finally just acting too goofy. But yeah, we're at 1.250, so we've got about 100 thousandths to go. Now these bullets do have, you know, they're injection molded, so I don't know what you call it, but you know, in the lead world it would be a sprue. These have like a little sprue on top and a little sprue on the bottom. So I'm not expecting the greatest consistency here with overall length. Okay, I think we've got it there. Let me double check them. 1.154. 1.153. So yeah, I went a little bit short, just by 1/1000th and a half or 2 thousandths. 1.154. 53. So as soon as I said that I was expecting overall length variation, these are all perfect, or they're all, you know, consistent. So before we put them into the Leaf Factory Crimp die, I want to grab, like, well, here's a Lyman case gauge. Let's see if they go in like this. They sure do. Fall right in, fall right out. That's good. That means they're not too bulgy. There we are. We're 5 for 5. Now the true test, though, is your actual barrel. This is the barrel out of my Glock 19. Drops right down in. Spins freely in the chamber, so perfect. Now, to be honest, this is probably where we should stop. Tell you what, I've got my Lone Wolf barrel as well. Let's see if it's got a shorter throat. little bit sticky in there, just a touch. This guy has a much shorter throat, so bullets hit the rifling much sooner in this barrel, so you got to watch your overall length. It's very easy to come up with rounds that run great in the Glock chamber, but then you put them in these and they're jamming themselves into the rifling and causing you function issues or worse. Man, it's close. Like this one right here, like you can hear it plunk down in there nicely. I don't think we'll have any problems, but I think that bullet's pretty close. See, this one I've been kind of screwing around with for a few minutes and now it's loosened up. So I think it's just ever so slightly touching the rifling maybe. I'm not sure, but I think we're good. And I pulled out the Lone Wolf. If the Glock barrel runs okay, we won't use it. But if we have grouping issues with the Glock barrel, the polygonal rifling in the Glock barrel, we'll pull this guy out and see if it groups. But hopefully, yep, we never even see this guy again. So yeah, like I was saying a minute ago, we're done. There's no need to crimp these when you really don't want to crimp. A crimp can only get you in trouble, I would think. But if your rounds weren't making it through the gauge, that's what the the Leaf Factory crimp die has, that carbide ring at the bottom. See, these are passing straight through it and not touching. But if you've got a bulgy thing going on there or something, that carbide sizing ring will smoosh it down a little bit. To be honest, with the Leaf Factory crimp die, I think all I would do is run a case through the carbide ring and just leave the crimp out of the way. I'll tell you what I'll do. So there we go. Screw it down until it touches, and then what Lee calls a light crimp is a half turn. I want to do one and see if it shows up like their picture, like the the don't do this picture. Nope, didn't really see anything, which is good. So I guess I will do that. I'll go ahead and run them through the Leaf Factory crimp die, just so that I don't need to run every single case through the barrel or the case gauge. That way, if I do end up with a bulge or something that needs ironed out, it'll get caught. I don't like this crimp. I just don't like it. I'll tell you what. Okay, so these first 5, we'll crimp those dudes. But I'm going to back this guy back out. I'm going to take that half turn of crimp out. Yeah, that's better. So that way they pass through the carbide ring. If something's going on, I'll catch it. But otherwise, we're in good shape. Sound like a plan? So it is super duper boring from here on out. I just need to seat bullets and measure powder and seat some more bullets and rinse and repeat. So I think at this point, I'll just see you guys out on the range. If anything exciting comes up, I'll flip the camera back on. All right, guys, let's get the boring stuff out of the way first and shoot some groups. I've got a target at 7 yards. If it'll group at 7, I'd be happy with that. We may look back at this target and think that keeping groups this close together and keeping all the bullet holes separate was a bad idea. But for now, I'm going in optimistic. I hope to shoot some little groups and it's going to fit on there no problem. This is JRB spec sized poster board with a grid drawn with the orange dots. I like to imagine that, the poster board is about the silhouette size, of like some sort of mutant who has 9 orange nipples. And those are the most lethal spots to shoot him. All right, first of all, let's see how these guys feed. No issue there. Inspect these guys and see if I spot any problems. Okay, these guys all look great. I don't see any bullet setback or anything goofy like that. I probably should have brought out my calipers, so maybe I could have given that a closer look. Maybe I'll take a break in a few minutes and go grab some. All right, so I've got my chronograph out. Top left dot. Oops, looks like we got a little malfunction on here. Failure to feed, kind of just got a little bit crooked there on the way to the chamber. Same thing. Or no, this is actually not even a stovepipe. It's like it's hung up inside of the extractor. All right, then a bit of a stovepipe coming out. So unless something weird's going on that I haven't spotted yet, our gun needs them a little hotter. Now the funny thing is, they told us to expect 1,385 feet or 82 feet per second, and we got 1,465. Interesting. The velocity was very consistent as well. We had a standard deviation number of 5.8. All right, so next up is going to be 4.8 grains of TiteGroup. Hopefully we get better function. I got the same issue. Kind of went halfway in the chamber. Tell you what, after this group, I'll go grab a quick, I think I've got some Blazer brass handy, factory ammo, and we'll just double check to make sure everything's running okay. Yep, one last stovepipe here on the last round. That wasn't the last round. And strangely enough, it locked a slide back. Maybe it's a magazine issue. Here's a quick 5 rounds of Blazer brass factory ammo. No function issues whatsoever. All right, we'll just keep on trucking. My gun just doesn't like TiteGroup with this bullet. Okay, 5.1 grains. This is what they call their plus P max. Let's hope we don't blow our face off. All right, so we got good function finally there with 5.1 grains, and we exceeded their expected velocity number just a bit, 1588. So the max plus P load there with TiteGroup did not show any pressure signs on the brass. We are moving on to HP-38. Our first load is 4.9 grains. Okay, failure to fire there. It did not eject the last piece of brass. Velocity was 1406, which is pretty close to what they're expecting. So yeah, this kind of sucks, man. But let's keep on trucking. Failure to feed. Yeah, you might have been able to tell the brass was just barely dribbling out of this guy. Average velocity 1417. I really don't think it has anything to do with our reloading procedure. You know, we used our case gauge, we used our barrels, we made sure these guys were going to fit. I think this load data is just really weak. Despite the velocities, just doesn't seem to have the oomph to run these guys. So next up is 5.2 grains. They're grouping well, I'll say that much. This is good shooting for me with a pistol. There we go, there's some good function. And last up with HP-38 is 5.6 grains. I'm really happy with the way these are flying. Like these are great groups for me with a pistol. I know it's maybe a little bit ridiculous, you know, putting these on paper, but I'm just not good enough with a pistol to come out here, bang some steel, and tell you that they're accurate. You know, we'd have to question every miss and wonder whether it was me or if it, you know, the bullets were shooting a foot off. So this definitely tells us for sure. And next up is 6.0 grains of Winchester AutoComp. I don't, you know, even the last two loads of HP-38 that ran well, if you were watching the ejection, it was just piddling out. So none of these have instilled me with great confidence just for basic function, let alone for carrying them in a defense situation. So let's hope AutoComp is the answer. 6 grains. Oh, baby. Much better function. Were you guys watching that ejection pattern? Still not perfect, but that's perfectly acceptable for, you know, this was a starting load for standard pressure. And the group kicked ass, man. All right, next up is 6.7 grains of AutoComp. So this is a pretty big jump from 6.0 up to 6.7. See how they do. All right, so we throw in all this drama with function issues, and this hasn't been quite as boring as I thought it might be. Plus, our 9-nippled mutant is definitely getting his butt kicked. These guys are grouping well. So last up, last chance to blow our face off here is 7.1 grains of AutoComp. All right, so I thought we were going to be way over velocity, but we weren't. Those numbers are semi-reasonable. So AutoComp saved the day, right? Perfect function all the way through, and then once I got up to the top 2 charges, even the ejection pattern was outstanding. So let's take our final 30 rounds and shoot some steel. Give us another opportunity to complain about TiteGroup and HP-38 with this bullet. All right, so with the exception of some night sights, this is a completely stock Glock 19. And I want to do one more test just to make sure something else isn't causing our function issues. This is my, my normal mag that with some carry ammo in it. Pretty sure these are 124 grain Hornady XTPs with 5.5 grains of unique, I think. They've been in this magazine like 6 months, and they've been what's in my gun. I think there's 10 rounds in here. I'm not sure why I short loaded it, but whatever. So we're going to fire these 10. If everything goes well, we're going to use this magazine for the remainder of the testing. So just going to bang out some steel here. Okay, outstanding function, locked our bolt back and all that stuff. So far so good. So that's just more evidence that I think the gun's running fine. This was just some weak load data. Okay, next up is 10 rounds of our lightest charge of TiteGroup. We are going to have function issues, almost guaranteed. But since we changed magazines, let's find out for sure. Yep, another sort of stovepipe looking thing there. Yep, no problem. I'll tell you what, we'll use these 9 remaining rounds for our extreme close-up testing. How's this? All right, pray for me. So nothing painful's hit me yet. That's a good thing. Man, these function issues are annoying. Okay, the next magazine. This was supposed to be our medium charge of HP-38. I think this one kind of halfway functioned, right? So I don't know. Let's find out. Yeah, that functioned great. I forgot that it shot so low. And I missed a few, but it functioned well. See, that's what I'm telling you. That's why we had to pull out the paper and the rest and all of that crap. Because at this point, we'd have no clue how these things shot. Okay, last up, these are our plus Ps, right? This is our maximum load of AutoComp. These should function fine. Let's see if I can put a couple on the little plates. I know earlier on when we shot my carry ammo, it was able to spin one of them all the way around. Let me try and get a low hit on it as well. Let's go for the other one. Back to the left. Miss, I think. I keep missing that left one. All right, let's get a good hit on the right-hand one. That's not it. Close enough. Back to the left. And that's it. Perfect function there with AutoComp. I want to take a minute and gather my thoughts. Let's head back to the reloading bench. Talk this over. Okay, so the length on this video kind of got out of hand. I didn't realize it was getting this long. So we'll make this quick. Accuracy, outstanding. The differences between this half-inch group and the kind of average 2-inch group, pure freaking luck, most likely. These were definitely flying well. No weird shots to speak of. Because that's what you worry about, right? With these crazy frangible bullets, they're freaking coming apart in flight and doing all sorts of weird stuff. We got zero of that. All they did was shoot really well. So the load data from Polycase, yeah, I don't know. You guys, if you guys try this, come back, let me know in the comments section whether you experience the same issues with, you know, if you try TiteGroup and HP-38. I think my gun's fine, but we had, yeah, so TiteGroup, first two charges had function issues, and our first charge of HP-38 had function issues. But otherwise, AutoComp was great. AutoComp was awesome. So that would be my recommendation. Now here's the problem with something weird like this, right? The only information we have to go off of is what they gave us. So you might be sitting on your hoarder stockpile of TiteGroup thinking, man, I really want to shoot TiteGroup. Just because we had function issues and it felt weak in that way, that doesn't mean we can keep going. I haven't tried to run the numbers or anything, but this could absolutely be a max pressure load that still just doesn't function the gun due to bullet weight. Just kind of a, you know, a warning there. I'd love to try this bullet again. You know, AutoComp did well, so maybe something like Unique, Power Pistol, HS6, something else kind of in that same region of the burn rate chart. Might be fun to play around with. One thing I thought was neat was the copper smear that got left on the steel targets by the bullets. Nothing to really comment on there. I just thought it was neat. Like I said, these, you know, where we didn't have any break apart, these are supposed to be suppressor safe, suppressor friendly, suppressor approved, whatever. I don't know. I'd have to pull up the website and see the exact language they use, but you're supposed to be able to use them in a suppressor. So after this generally positive experience here with the 65 grain ARX, I want to try their 300 blackout bullet, definitely. And that little 223 bullet, that would be a freaking screamer. It's like 30 grains or something ridiculous. So yeah, I'm looking forward to trying more. The price is right. Well, I won't say the price is right. This is an expensive 9mm bullet, right? I mean, even 21 cents each. We can get Hornady XTPs for 15 cents. So I'm not saying this isn't an expensive bullet, But at least it's cheap enough to buy a box and play with like we did today. Like I say, the round nose version that's, you know, more meant for plinking is like 16 cents or 17 cents a piece. So I found it fun to play with. I feel like I got my money's worth, you know. So I think that's pretty much it for the Inceptor ARX. How many times during the video have I called it Interceptor? I keep wanting to call it Interceptor. I don't know why a company would use a name like Inceptor. Everybody's going to call it Interceptor. They're going to be searching for the wrong bullets. They're not going to be able to find your crap. So I guess that's my negative, the name. And the load data. Load data was a little bit of a letdown, but we got there in the end. AutoComp got us there in the end. So that's it for today. If I've saved you a buck or two by steering you toward the right powder or something like that over the years, consider supporting my broke ass at patreon.com/reloading. It's the best way to support the channel and make it so that I can continue to do what I'm doing. I will see you guys tomorrow at 8 a.m.